Sono qui con noi Daria Graziosi e Salvatore Esposito.
Eccoci.
Benvenuti!
Insieme in questa puntata.
Anche tono su tono, come vedete, quindi siamo in tonalità.
Sì, oggi abbiamo una puntata veramente tanto speciale con un ospite tanto importante in questa bellissima soap opera Sentieri Guide Light, ma prima di iniziare facciamo entrare il nostro
amatissimo Rosario Paolo Saia, che ci fa sempre di questi regali.
È qui con noi Rosario Paolo Saia.
Eccolo qua.
Come ringraziarti di questo ospite?
Non ti preoccupare, qualcosa ti verrà in mente. Innanzitutto è un piacere rivedervi soprattutto insieme in questa occasione bellissima. Anche oggi abbiamo scovato per voi un attore amato, amatissimo.
Mamma mia.
Battere tanti cuori, no? Di tutte queste donne, ragazze, insomma, innamorate di questo personaggio, a volte anche un po' cattivello, no? Che ci ha fatto un po' disperare per certe questioni, però tanto amato. Quindi banda alle ciance, visto che abbiamo tante domande da fargli, quindi direi di annunciare il personaggio, l'attore Grant Aleksander, quindi Phillip Spaulding, via con la scheda.
Grant Aleksander Kunkowski è nato a Baltimora il 6 agosto 1960. È conosciuto principalmente per aver interpretato il ruolo di Phillip Spaulding nella soap opera Sentieri, con apparizioni a intermittenza dal 1982 fino alla cancellazione nel 2009. Per il suo ruolo in Sentieri ha ricevuto un Soap Opera Digest Award e 4 nomination al Daytime Emmy Awards. Ha anche interpretato DJ Phillips in Capitol nel 1986. Nel 1988 ha ricevuto un telegatto in Italia per Sentieri. Nel 1983 Aleksander è entrato nel cast della soap opera La Valle dei Pini nel ruolo di Alec McIntyre, che ha interpretato fino al 1996. Durante i suoi periodi di assenza da Sentieri, Aleksander ha diretto alcuni episodi della soap opera Così gira il mondo. È sposato con l'avvocato Sherry Ramsey dal 19 settembre 1987. Insieme hanno salvato molti animali e sono sostenitori della PETA. È qui con noi Grant Aleksander.
Ciao,
Hi Grant, how are you?
I'm good. How are you all doing?
Thank you so much for being with us. We have many questions for you, so we can start with the first one.
Sure.
Allora Grant, grazie per essere qui con noi e partiamo subito con le domande. Innanzitutto, ricordi come il tuo provino nella soap opera Sentieri?
Do you remember your audition for Guiding Light?
I do, yeah. I was auditioning for our casting director at the time, was a woman named Betty Ray, who was sort of famous in the business. She was a wonderful, wonderful casting agent, and she was one of those people that really took her time with you and put you at ease, which allowed you to really put your best foot forward. So, yeah, I remember it very well.
It was happened something I don't know special or nothing important during that screen test.
Well, I think sometimes luck is your best friend. I was getting cast to play the part of Philip at the time that they were getting ready to do a story that he had been raised by one man but was the biological son of another. And the man that Philip was the biological son of, I looked like I could be his son. He was a big, tall ex-Marine named Tom O'Rourke, who played Justin on the show. And I was good sized myself, so and we were both sort of light. They had light colored hair, and so did I, and sort of square jawed, and we looked like we could, be father and son. So I looked at him and I thought, maybe this will work out.
Okay, so Betty Ray was very loved by everyone. Betty Ray la direttrice dei casting, molto amata e ricordata da tutti. Bene.
Noi ora abbiamo un video speciale con la storia di Philip.
And now we have a special video with a Phillip story for you. Fasten your seatbelt.
Okay.
Ti sei emozionato?
Amazing. How do you feel watching all these scenes all together?
What a lucky guy. It just brought back so many great memories. I had such a wonderful time working on the show. So many just wonderful friends, actors. It was a wonderful way to spend 25 years, and I feel very, very fortunate.
25, a whole life, 25 anni veramente, una
Yeah.
vita.
Senti, io ogni volta che parliamo di Sentieri porto un po' con me mia suocera, perché lei l'ha vista fino proprio all'ultima puntata, no? Il tuo era un personaggio che lei amava tantissimo. Però qual è la tua storia preferita legata a Philip e quale ti è piaciuta di meno?
What is your favorite story for Philip, and which did you like the least?
Well, whenever I'm asked that question, it's always easy for me. My favorite story was the first that I did with the Four Musketeers story, and with Philip and his two fathers. It was just a beautiful story, and I think everybody was really well cast for the parts that they were playing. And it was my first big job. It was Michael's first big job. Krista and Judy the same. So it was a magical time for all of us, and we didn't. I don't think we knew how lucky we were until we had some distance from it. Because when it's your first story, you think, it's always going to be like this. And then you realize, no, not so much. There are lots of unmemorable stories that we did over the years, but that's what happens when you're doing a show 5 days a week. They're not all going to be the best, nor are you always going to be the best either. So I don't tend to remember the stories that I didn't like very much. I just remember, I remember the ones that I did and the people that I worked with that I loved working with.
So the early times in 1983 were unforgettable, no?
Very much so, very much so.
I primi tempi, agli inizi, no, nel 1983-86, indimenticabili.
La prossima domanda riguarda questo video. Guarda attentamente.
And now the next question regards this video, so watch it carefully.
Oh my God.
Oh, Dad. Glad you're here. Come on in. All right, Dad. Listen, I appreciate everything that you're doing.
Goodbye, son.
I'll see you, Dad. Okay, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. We have a lot to accomplish today. Let's start with this. If you have a seat, begin on page A5.
Il tuo personaggio era amatissimo, ma hai lasciato il set nel 2004. Possiamo spiegare meglio cosa è successo?
Your character was beloved, but you left the set in 2004. Can we explain more about what happened?
Sometimes stories just take on a life of their own. And sometimes, there are other people that would probably be able to give you a better answer. I mean, some of it just comes down to practical issues. Sometimes they just want to renegotiate your contract. And sometimes they just feel like we can get a whole lot of story out of a big splash like this when you kill an established character. And of course, the number one rule is in daytime, nobody's ever really dead.
Mm. So we we remember that in 2004 and 2005 something weird happened about contracts, and so yeah, I remember something like that. Sì, ricordiamo, era una questione di budget, no, dei contratti, quindi spesso insomma venivano un po' rinegoziate le cose se non andavano bene.
Sometimes I think, there's just a lack of communication sometimes, because with me, in my case, a month after I was gone, they were already in touch with me about coming back. And I was kind of confused by that, because I thought, I thought it was what it was. But, sometimes we don't communicate with each other very well. So.
Yeah, sempre la comunicazione è sempre importante. Communication is very important. Okay.
Senti, con quali colleghi preferivi lavorare e perché? E sei rimasto in contatto con qualcuno del cast?
Which colleagues did you prefer to work with and why? And did you stay in touch with any of the cast?
Well, to answer the first part of the question would take more time than we would have. I've had so many wonderful people that I loved working with just from the beginning. I couldn't have gotten more lucky to start out with having Tom O'Rourke playing my dad, and Chris Bernot playing my other dad, Alan Spaulding. And again, the first story that we all did, I made lifelong friendships with these people. I'm still in touch with a lot of them. Mikey and I have been pals forever. We talk to each other all the time. We see each other regularly. I'm still really good friends and in touch with Phil McGregor, who was the first Rick on the show. And Justin Dees, who played Buzz, is one of my best friends. We were in touch a lot. Ron Raines, trying to think, Robert Newman, I see at stuff, and we've been, friends for a million years. So I stay in touch with Beth Chamberlain. She's been a great friend and just a delight to work with for all those years. So there are a ton of people that I stay in touch with because we really were. It becomes cliche, but when you work that long, that many hours, and for that many years with people, they really become a part of your family, and you think of them that way.
Yeah, so you are lucky, many colleagues, many friends.
Mhm.
Sì.
E quindi sì, tanti amici durante tutti questi anni, e poi hai elencato, ha fatto un elenco di nomi
Sì, sì,
veramente
sì.
importanti.
Allora, Philip ha avuto tante donne, proprio tante. Guarda questo video.
So you had many women, so we can watch this video.
Oh no.
Senti, ma hai qualche ricordo speciale oppure qualche aneddoto divertente da condividere?
Do you have any special memories or funny anecdotes to share with us?
It just strikes me watching that video. It's like Philip is the exact opposite of me. You know, I've been with Sherry since just after man began walking upright, um, and Philip is somebody that's had relationships with so many different people. They were all interesting. They were all fun. My favorite thing, one of my favorite things about playing Philip, and it had nothing to do with me, it was just my good fortune, is that he was a character that generated conflict. If Philip walked into a room, everybody in that room knew how they felt about him. They might have hated him, they might have loved him, whatever, but they knew how they felt about him. There was nothing wishy-washy about the character. And those are great characters to write. So they would constantly have Philip moving from one relationship to the next because it was great for story. And I loved it because it gave me interesting things to do. Sometimes fans, it's like I always felt like the worst thing that can happen to you on a soap is to become part of a super couple. It's what they used to call them. And I know Beth and Philip were a super couple of sorts, but they kept breaking up, and so that was okay with me because in playing Philip, I always felt like an important part of playing the character in any romantic relationship was that Beth was always here. Everybody else would be somewhere else, and he might be very passionate about them, for a given time, but there was nobody that occupied that space that she did. That got, that part of his heart. But it was wonderful to get to play all these relationships all the time because it kept everything fresh and interesting, and it kept the character interesting.
So Philip was a very distant character from you, but we think that it is for an actor more challenging, playing a different.
Sometimes, you can't play a character on a soap for years without using a lot of yourself. There's certainly a lot of myself in Philip, but in that particular way, we were different.
Certo, è sempre interessante e più stimolante, no? Interpretare un personaggio diverso dall'attore, quindi è
Certo.
comprensibile.
Senti, hai qualche ricordo particolare invece di qualche collega che non c'è più?
Do you have any special memories of colleagues who have passed away?
Yeah, but I don't want to start crying. We've lost a lot of people. We really have. One of my dearest friends on the show was Jerry Verdorn, who played Ross and was just an incredible friend for a million years and mentored me when I was not just when I was going to say when I was young and started on the show. Jerry never stopped teaching me and others, anybody that wanted to learn about how to be a professional, how to be a great actor, how to do it the way it's supposed to be done. Jerry was just incredible, and I miss him terribly. But we've lost a lot of folks. I mean, I remember back in the very early days, when I first came on, Sharita Bauer, who was one of the last characters from the radio days. I mean, Sharita went way back, and she was the matriarch of our show. And as soon as you came into that building on 26th Street, our old first studio, and you met Sharita, you stood a little taller, and you watched what came out of your mouth. She was just somebody that you wanted to be your best around, and you didn't want to be the one that would go up on set and not know your lines or make a mistake so that you had to do it over again when you were working with Sharita. And Sharita passed away a couple years after I was on the show, and she was incredibly kind to me, as she was to everybody else. She helped to lay down a foundation of what it meant to be a professional actor, and to learn how to comport yourself, learn how to come to work prepared. She was again another wonderful teacher. But we lost Chris Burnell back in the late '80s, and again, just I couldn't have gotten any luckier than to work with people like Chris. He taught me so much stuff, and Chris was very, very much like Alan Spaulding in many ways, but he was very different than Alan Spaulding in many ways. You never really got to see Alan Spaulding with a big sense of humor. Chris was one of the funniest people alive. He had one of the quickest wits. It could often be very, very cutting. But he was a dear friend and a wonderful colleague, and I miss them all. We've just lost some more people recently. Mark Dobies, who I worked with in the '90s, just passed away. Anthony Adabo passed away a few years ago. They're just way too young, and just great guys, great people. So we've lost a lot of folks. And of course, hey, I'm leaving out one of the biggest because I'm searching my mind thinking. Beverly McKenzie, who played Alexander, was one of my dearest friends on the show, and another person who just taught me an enormous amount about how to be an actor, how to approach story, so that you weren't just playing what seemed to be right for you. You understood what your role was in telling a given story. Beverly taught me a lot about that. And again, she was another person. They didn't write a lot of you couldn't write certain things about her personality into her character, but she was another one that was just hilarious and just the most consummate pro. Beverly used to they worked her a ton. And she used to learn all of her scripts the weekend before she would come to work. And her way of doing it was she would learn them back to front. So she would learn Friday's script for the next week first, and then work backwards. So Beverly would hold a script in the rehearsal hall, but she didn't need it. She knew her stuff already. And I followed her lead on that. I started doing that a lot myself because I found that my work was just better when I did it that way.
Yeah, something interesting and discovering and learning from these good actors. Yeah, so they left too early, but they are still in our hearts.
Yeah.
Sono andati via troppo presto, però sono sempre ricordati, vivono nei nostri cuori.
Sì, nei nostri cuori, certo. Senti, noi abbiamo letto in alcune interviste che eri molto amico di Phil McGregor, che ha interpretato Rick Bauer per alcuni mesi. Come hai reagito quando hai saputo del suo licenziamento e come hai accolto Michael O'Leary. Hai più sentito Phil McGregor?
We read in some old interviews that you were close friends with Phil McGregor, who played the first Rick Bauer for a few months. How did you react when you learned of his dismissal, and how did you greet Michael O'Leary? Have you heard from Phil McGregor again?
Oh yeah, Phil and I are still good friends. We're in touch all the time. Phil went on. He acted in some other shows. He was on Loving for a while, and did something else, I think, after he left Guiding Light. But he took a turn and decided to go into business. And he and his partner started a floral creation business, and they've been fabulously successful. They actually just did an incredible Italian wedding. He showed me the video from it, and it was, just amazing. So he chose to do something. He's a wonderful actor, obviously a very handsome guy, but he chose to do something different. He's been really successful doing it, and yeah, we're still great friends. We talk a lot. As far as how I reacted, I was very unhappy because Phil and I got cast together. We auditioned together, and we got cast together. I had audition scenes with Phil and with Chris Bernot and Tom O'Rourke. And Phil had him with me and with Peter Simon, who played Ed, who was his father. So we became close really fast. And when they let him go, I was really unhappy about it. And I remember the first day Mikey came in, and we were, I certainly didn't intend to hold it against him, but I wasn't happy. But within about 5 minutes, I mean, he's Mikey. You just, you couldn't help it. And I think the chemistry that we had together. I mean, our characters were perfect to put together. They were so different. We complemented each other, I think, so well. And working together just became the easiest thing in the world. When you would see us having fun, we were really having fun.
Yeah, so a good recast, it's not easy, no? Era un buon recast, non è semplice sostituire sempre un attore.
Senti, poi appunto dicevamo è arrivato Michael O'Leary e allora noi vogliamo vedere insieme a te il video della prima volta, della prima scena insieme.
And about Michael O'Leary, we can watch now your first scene together.
I'm scrambling eggs or something, wasn't it?
The role of Rick Bauer is now being played by Michael O'Leary.
Oh my goodness. 10:30 in the morning and Rick Bauer just getting up?
Morning, Phil.
What's the matter? You sick?
No, I'm not sick. I'm just enjoying myself while I can before school starts.
Mm-hmm. See, that's kind of funny. I didn't even think you enjoyed sleeping late. It's one of those things about your character that's always concerned me.
A letter from Morgan this morning. Seems like she's left town. Yeah, I got one too. Sounds like she made the right decision. Well, I know that Professor Bruner's death was real hard on you.
It was hard on everybody.
Grandma really appreciated you coming to the funeral.
It's weird. It's the first funeral I've ever been to.
I'm meeting my Uncle Mike at the hospital. And we're going to have dinner at Trish Lewis's apartment.
Oh, does that mean that the dreaded Mindy Lewis has come to town?
You got it.
Well, I'll tell you, a quiet night at home with Eve and Samantha never sounded so good.
Trish Lewis is such a nice person.
Well, listen to me. A little bit of sage advice for you, and you better pay attention. Nice means zilch in the face of a blind date with somebody that sounds as bad as Mindy Lewis. What's that?
What? Hey.
Te la ricordavi, sì?
Did you remember this scene?
Yes, yeah. Mikey and I have talked about it a lot. We both look back on it and we think, God, we were awful.
It seems like yesterday, and it was 43 years ago.
Hard to believe.
Sembra ieri, invece 43 anni fa.
43 anni fa. Senti, e sempre parlando di video, continuando con i video, che sono del nostro, ricordiamolo, Marcello Marino, il regista di questo nostro programma, e la prossima domanda la facciamo con questo video molto speciale.
And now the next question is about this video.
Video provided by Giacomo Schivo.
Sto parlando di Sentieri. Ritirano il premio Michael O'Leary e Aleksander Grant, Rick Bauer e Phillip Spaulding. E invece Phillip Spaulding, sì, che oggi appena arrivato in albergo, si è precipitato davanti al televisore a guardare, a sentire com'era la sua voce. How did you find your voice in Italian? Is that similar to your English voice?
Molto bene. It's
molto bene.
Very, very nice. Very, very close.
Molto vicina alla tua voce, very close to your real voice.
All of them were. I was very surprised, especially the character India is very, very similar. Molto bravi I doppiatori italiani. Grazie, mille grazie.
Allora, grazie a Sentieri, Guiding Light in inglese, ricevete il vostro telegatto.
Grande, ci puoi raccontare dell'emozione di questo telegatto, di essere arrivato in Italia? Emozioni di quei giorni.
Can you tell us about this telegatto in Italy in 1988?
Yeah, it was great. I got a call about coming over, all expenses paid, to receive an award in Milan, and the only thing that I had any concern about was whether the show would let us do it, because we needed about 10 days to make it work. And so Mikey and his fiance at the time, Joni, joined Sherry and me, and we came over. It was really it was special for all of us because we got to see some fantastic things. We got to spend some time in Villa d'Este, and then after Milano, we went to Firenze and then Roma, and we had a wonderful time. But I actually lived in Milan for a while back in the early 80s. I was modeling. And I mean, I didn't have two nickels to rub together. I stayed at Pensione Yolanda and Pensione Vecchia, I think. And I was there with my roommate, Ted Marchibroda from the States, who we were with the same modeling agency. And the deal was they'd buy you a ticket over and a ticket back, and then they would set you up so you get a lot of work, so you could put a portfolio together. But they took most of everything you made. So we didn't have any money. We were eating a lot of bread and a lot of cheese, but it was great. You know, I got to travel around. I got to see everything in the city and travel outside the city a little bit. And I loved the Italian people. I loved just being there. But it was really interesting to get to go back to Milan and Italy, and have such a fantastic trip, after being over there and being so poor. Because I had wanted to travel. I'd wanted to get a Eurail pass and see the rest of the country, but I just couldn't afford to do it. And I got to see so many wonderful things on that trip, from Canale Cinque, and I'm still. Is it still Silvio Berlusconi? Is he still?
Yeah, the son of
Okay,
yes, yeah. Silvio.
Well, very grateful. They treated us just wonderfully, and we had a wonderful time.
Yeah. So you worked modeling before Guiding Light in 1983. Before that time.
Yeah, I was. I think I was living. I think it was 82, early 82 or 81. I have to go back and look. Is when I was living in Milan. Somebody told me that you might be able to make some money doing this, and it would free you up to go on acting auditions and stuff. And at the time, I was just working in restaurants and bartending, and I thought, yeah, well, this sounds like more fun than that. So I started doing it, and it went okay. But I realized that modeling wasn't a sideline; it's a career unto itself, and that's not really what I wanted to do. And I wasn't really very good at it. I needed a character to hide behind. But one of the most wonderful experiences I had when I was in Milan, I got sent over to La Scala, because they were Gianni Versace was doing the costumes for the upcoming season, and I don't know what it was, but they needed somebody that was kind of a little bit bigger as a fit model, and it wasn't for pictures or anything. But I went over, and I met him, and it was almost like I felt like I knew him from someplace else, and I think he felt the same way about me. We struck up a really odd friendship. And he would have me over to his home a lot, and his English was a lot better than my Italian. His sister Donatella at the time was actually dating an American, so it was easier to communicate. But he was just so wonderful to me, and he put me in his runway show over there. And then when I came back, he put me in his fall campaign that Richard Avedon shot, which was the highlight of my modeling career. And the nicest thing that he did was I'd done a lot of photo shoots while I was over there that hadn't come out in magazines yet, so I couldn't get the pictures for a portfolio. And I was going home because I missed Sherry and I wanted to get home. And he told me, he said, well, I'll bring them to you. He said, I'm coming in the fall, I'll bring them to you. And he did. He brought me a whole portfolio of all the work that hadn't come out yet. And we were living in a 4th floor walk up off Park Avenue between Park and Madison. He walked up four flights of stairs with the whole portfolio of stuff for me. And he was just a delightful man and couldn't have been kinder to me. And I was just so sickened at his passing.
Nice to hear. But how many months did you spend in Milan? Do you remember?
It was like 3 or 4.
Ok, nice story. Quindi aveva lavorato pure come modello, no? Per 3-4 mesi a Milano, e noi non sapevamo dietro l'angolo.
Senti, come hai voluto omaggiare, no, i doppiatori, e hai già sentito anche la voce di Philip, e noi abbiamo un video con una sorpresa per te.
And now about your Italian voice, we have another special moment for you.
Lo so che non posso rimediare, lo so.
È proprio così.
Lo so, e so anche che tu ora mi odi e ti capisco.
Sì, qualche volta ti odio.
Io lo so quanto stai soffrendo. Ma devi cercare di capire che...
Io ho perso il mio bambino. Potrei perdere mia moglie. E sicuramente ho già perso te.
No, su questo ti sbagli, amico. Tu non mi hai perso.
No, questo è vero. Ti sto solo buttando via. Ciao.
Ah, che combinazione. Stavo provando a telefonarti. Come stai? Accomodati. Vuoi fare colazione o bere qualcosa? No! Questo non è vero. Non è possibile, non è vero. Dio.
Ciao cari amici di Sentieri, un caro saluto. Purtroppo per motivi di famiglia non posso essere direttamente presente al momento della vostra trasmissione. Però ci tenevo almeno a mandarvi questo messaggio, un po' perché Sentieri ha rappresentato quasi un quarto di secolo della mia vita professionale e che ho sempre cercato di rispettare con la massima serietà e anche con passione, perché è stato anche una delle prime cose che mi hanno permesso di cominciare a lavorare nel campo del doppiaggio. Trovo veramente un peccato che le trasmissioni in Italia si siano interrotte prima della fine organica, diciamo, di tutta la storia, e purtroppo le decisioni non spettano a noi e capisco la vostra delusione o dispiacere di non aver chiuso, diciamo così, il cerchio. E poi volevo mandarvi questo messaggio anche per salutare Grant Aleksander, il mio collega americano che ho avuto il piacere di conoscere negli anni 90 a Rete 4 durante il festeggiamento per un telegatto. È stato un incontro molto simpatico, direi quasi fraterno per certi versi, e ho avuto un impatto piacevolissimo, a dimostrazione che a volte la bravura, l'umiltà e la serietà nel lavoro possono anche convivere nella stessa persona. Dando quindi un carissimo abbraccio a Grant, auguro a lui e alla sua famiglia ogni bene, qualunque cosa stia facendo e qualunque cosa farà in futuro. Tra di noi c'è, diciamo così, un legame di amicizia in qualche modo che spero duri per sempre. E a tutti voi appassionati vi saluto, vi confermo che quando sarà il momento io per voi ci sarò sempre. Sentieri ce l'ho nel cuore e ce l'ho proprio come un ricordo, un pezzo di vita. E volevo raccontare un aneddoto che mi è capitato di doppiare un periodo nella storia in cui Philip lasciava Beth e andava in giro a cercare casa perché non sapeva dove andare a trovare una sistemazione, e in quel periodo io avevo appena lasciato la mia fidanzata e stavo cercando a mia volta una casa non sapendo dove andare. Vi posso lasciare immaginare come sono stati quei turni. La vita degli attori è così, un po' particolare. Vi saluto ancora, un abbraccio e al prossimo appuntamento che spero ci sarà.
Che carino.
Carino.
That's wonderful. Wonderful.
Remember him? So
I do, yeah. I remember my first impression, and it's my impression again. I wish I had his voice. He's just got a wonderful voice. And but what I got to hear here, because I've never really gotten to see as much of the Italian telecast, just what a wonderful job he did with the emotion and the complexity and the nuance of everything that was going on. It's like I was watching it thinking like, well, no, this was done in Italian. It wasn't English. It was really he was delightful. I had a wonderful impression meeting him, and I guess we're both grateful we got to be colleagues for as long as we did. And I wish him the very best in everything that he's doing. Looks like he's doing great.
So remember what Gabriele said. See you next time, maybe in Italy, here in Milan. We'll see.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Love to.
Ringraziamo tantissimo Gabriele Calindri, che è stato veramente carinissimo. Purtroppo gli avrebbe fatto piacere essere qui con noi, ma non ha potuto per altri impegni familiari, e quindi ci ha inviato questo video. Ricordiamo che non solo lui è un bravissimo doppiatore, ma che è anche il figlio di un attore bravissimo che è scomparso ormai tanti anni fa, Ernesto Calindri. Ancora.
Sì. Grazie Gabriele, e soprattutto grazie per aver condiviso con noi questo aneddoto spiacevole, ecco, quindi durante le registrazioni di doppiaggio. Allora, adesso ci raggiunge il nostro Marcello, che è in regia, perché ha qualche domanda da farti.
And now our director, Marcello, is reaching us because he has a few questions for you.
È qui con noi Marcello Marino.
Hi, Granti.
Hey.
Nice to meet you. I'm very happy you are here with us. I have some questions for you.
Sure.
I speak in Italian and then Rosario will translate.
Okay.
Allora, quando sei tornato nel 2009 era stato introdotto un nuovo modello di produzione con le telecamere a mano e le scene girate negli esterni a PPEC. Come ti sei trovato con uno stile di produzione totalmente diverso da quello classico e quali pensi che fossero i pro e i contro?
When you returned in 2009, the new production model with handheld cameras and peacock exteriors had been introduced. How did you get along with a totally different style of production from the classic one, and what did you think were the pros and cons?
Well, to be fair, I think they had to change the production model for financial reasons. I was not I wasn't a big fan of doing it that way because I feel like it didn't play into our strengths and it emphasized our weaknesses. The strength of the soaps was always that you could tell a story in real time, and you could have scenes that were several pages long that would have an arc to them. And then within a show, there would be an arc, and within a week, and then a month, and within a story, you would have these arcs that built up. And when we started doing it that way, I think everything became very choppy. I think we were trying to imitate a film and a nighttime model that we were lacking several things, I think, to make that successful. That's not a criticism of the people who put it in place. I really think that they felt like it was the way to try to keep the show on the air and to give it life. But I don't think it served us all that well. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Sì, era un modo giusto per provare, visto i tagli del budget, insomma, dei costi, a fare sopravvivere lo show, ma purtroppo non è durato tanto.
Come hai saputo invece della cancellazione di Sentieri nel 2009 e cosa hai provato quando sei venuto a conoscenza appunto che sarebbe finito?
How did you hear about the cancellation of Guiding Light in 2009, and how did you feel at that time?
Well, I was. Do you all have April Fool's Day?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the day we got canceled. It was April Fool's of 2009, and I was in a home improvement store called Home Depot over here. I don't know if you guys have that over there, but it's a place where you go to get stuff to work on your house. And Ron Raines called me and said, "Well, I heard we just got canceled." And I said, "Is this an April Fool's thing, or is it?" And he said, "No, we just got canceled, Ron." So I thought, we were expecting it, but we had expected it for a long time. There's a difference between expecting it and then having it actually happen. And I think we were all, very deeply saddened that our run was coming to an end. And those last months were very special, but they were also very difficult in a lot of ways.
So you worked until June, maybe April, May, and June.
Actually, August. We worked through August. Yeah.
Sì, come già ricordiamo, sembrava un pesce d'aprile, invece quel 1 aprile 2009 arrivò questa notizia tra capo e collo. Così.
Invece abbiamo saputo che poco prima della morte di Paul Rush, tu e lui stavate lavorando insieme a un reboot di Sentieri e che la Procter & Gamble aveva accolto con entusiasmo quest'idea, questo progetto. Cosa ci puoi raccontare al riguardo? Cosa stavate progettando per il ritorno di Sentieri?
We know that before Paul Rush's death, you were working together on a reboot of Guiding Light, and that the Procter & Gamble had enthusiastically embraced this project. What can you tell us about that? What were you planning for the return of Guiding Light?
Well, to be honest with you, Paul was working on that and very diligently. I had very little to do with it. If he had been successful, I would have had more to do with it. But he tried very hard to find a way to get it back on the air, unsuccessfully, unfortunately. Procter & Gamble, I shouldn't really say because I don't know for a fact, but I know there have been attempts to try to do things with the show and with all the recorded episodes of the show. But I think the people at Procter & Gamble have not been receptive to giving the rights over to doing that to anyone. And I think that was the problem ultimately that Paul ran into and had to give up on.
Okay.
Allora, abbiamo un brevissimo video che introduce la domanda successiva.
And now there is another video related with the next question.
Kelly, ti ripeto che non lo so, le fanno apposta per me. A te non fanno effetti? Oh, Kelly, per piacere.
Non fare il furbo, dimmi che cosa c'è in quelle pillole.
Kelly, ragiona, le prendo anch'io. Mi credi tanto pazzo da scherzare con certe cose? Se senti che ti fanno male, smetti di prenderle e basta. Beh, forse il problema è un altro. Voglio dire, forse va ricercato dentro di te. Sei soddisfatta della vita che fai?
Pienamente soddisfatta, certo. Sono solo molto tesa e non mi va di sentirmi così.
Vuoi qualcosa che ti aiuti a rilassarti?
Allora, hai lavorato anche nella soap opera Capitol. Ricordi qualcosa di quell'esperienza?
You also worked in Capitol. Do you remember anything about that experience?
Oh yeah. I remember there were a lot of wonderful people that I worked with. Jess, who's in that, Jess Walton, she was a sweetheart. Billy Byers, who passed away a number of years ago, sadly. Lots of great folks there too. I had done a pilot for Aaron Spelling, and I was under hold for that. So there were only certain things I could do, and I needed to make some money. So John Conboy, who was the producer, said, "Yeah, we'd like to bring you Grant on for if he wants a 6-month deal or something like that. We can accommodate that, because that would take me to the end of my holding deal, and then I didn't want to sign on to anything for long term, and I couldn't because we didn't know whether the pilot was going to go or not. But I knew I could do something for 6 months." And John Conboy said, yeah, we'd like to have Grant, but just as long as he knows he's going to have 2 sets. He's going to have a hot tub and a bed. And true to form, I'm looking in that scene right there. At least I had a robe on. But I did a lot of hopping in and out of beds with another person who's gone, Tawny Katane. Was on the show then, and we hopped in and out of bed quite a bit, and the hot tub. But yeah, no, they were nice people. I enjoyed working with all of them.
Nice experience. E tra l'altro ricordiamo che in quella scena c'era una giovanissima attrice, Jess Walton, che interpreta ancora tuttora in Febbre d'amore la famosa Jill Foster, un personaggio molto amato in America, visto che in Italia l'hanno sospesa.
Senti, a parte Sentieri e Capitol, hai lavorato in altre produzioni e quindi vogliamo ricordarlo in quest'altro video.
And now we can watch all your roles and characters you played in your life. We'll see.
I think
So,
you got it.
Vogliamo ringraziare per questo video, per tutti i video come sempre, Marcello Marino.
thank you to Marcello Marino that he collects all the scenes he can find
Wow.
on
My
the
pleasure.
Very good.
That's quite a bit. Brought back some memories.
If you wanted, we can send you to your email all these videos so you can.
I would love it. I'd love it. I would really appreciate that.
Okay.
Nel corso della tua carriera, quale altro ruolo, no, appunto fra questi, ti è piaciuto interpretare o in generale?
In your career, what other role have you enjoyed playing?
Well, I don't know that it really applies to my career, but in college, I got to play Hamlet, and our Ophelia was Sherry, and that's how I met her. And we fell in love doing the play, and we've been together ever since. So Shakespeare and Hamlet have a very, very special place in my heart.
Shakespeare always in our hearts. I agree with you. Quindi l'Amleto, no, di Shakespeare è sempre un ricordo indelebile.
Eh sì. Senti, sappiamo che hai diretto anche alcune scene, alcuni episodi di Così gira il mondo. Ecco, com'è stata quell'esperienza?
We know that you also worked in All My Children, and you directed episodes in As the World Turns. What were those experiences like?
Very humbling. I've been on the other side of the camera for a long time, and always wanted to try directing. In many ways, it was what I thought it was, and in many ways, it wasn't. There were some things that were very challenging that I hadn't anticipated, but it was a great experience. I loved doing it. Chris Goutman was the executive producer there, and Chris, I had actually started training when I was leaving All My Children. Gary Tomlin had started with me, and then Chris Goutman, who was a director over on All My Children at the time, had started training me. And then I went back to Guiding Light because it just financially it seemed like the smart thing to do. And I missed a lot of my friends and stuff. But when I was gone from the show again in 2004, Chris had always been really kind to me and had left the door open to me and said, if you ever want to try this, just give me a call. So I did, and I went out there and I started directing out on As the World Turns. And it was a fantastic experience, really frightening in a lot of ways, because the directing on any given day, no matter how much material an actor has, the director still has the hardest day. You're like riding a rocket the whole day long, because things always go wrong and you have to figure out your way around it. And once you've done it for a while, that becomes a simpler thing. But when you're new to it, you can melt down. And I was fortunate that didn't happen to me, but I came close a couple of times. But managed to get my way through it. But they had a wonderful group of actors over there who were very kind to me. And I really enjoyed it. And I've been very lucky in my life professionally, but the only regret that I have is I wish I had started directing earlier, because I love doing it. I enjoy the process, whether it's on camera or whether it's stage work. I really do enjoy it.
Yeah, I think doing new things is frightening. It's always challenging and interesting. Ok.
Allora, qui noi tutti amiamo gli animali, specialmente Marcello ed io, e abbiamo cani, gatti e non solo, e sappiamo anche che tu e tua moglie condividete l'amore per gli animali. Ti va di parlarci della PETA, di questa esperienza?
We know that you share a love for animals with your wife. Would you like to tell us about PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals?
A wonderful organization that's been doing incredible work for decades now, bringing awareness to some really horrible conditions that the animals, particularly animals that are raised for food, the fur industry, livestock. in over the last 100 or so years, we've become a society that is further and further removed from the production of our food, whether it's animal food or whether it's vegetables or rice and anything. And it's to our detriment that this has happened. But it's even more to the detriment of the animals that are involved in the food chain, because we get most of our meat from factory farms, which just do horrible things. And they're not only horrible in terms of the conditions for the animals, but they're horrible for the product that is produced. Even if you're a vegetarian, you have even if you're not a vegetarian, you have if you're a thinking person, you have a oh, I see somebody there. You would have objections to the way food is being raised and processed with hormones and antibiotics and steroids and all the pesticides that are in the feed, and then the runoff that comes from all the waste products. Not to go all the way down this road, but it's gotten very bad. And PETA's been right at the forefront for decades now in bringing the awareness to this stuff. They're an organization. They take a lot of heat because some of their ad campaigns kind of hit people the wrong way. I understand people reacting that way. But if you look at just the good work that they've done, I think part of their mission statement has been, we're going to get your attention. And they've really done that. There are a lot of other great organizations. My wife, Sherry, was legal counsel for
Humane
the
Society of the United States.
The United States for about 10 years. And there's the ASPCA. There are tons of great animal organizations that are trying to look out for the welfare of animals. And I'm surprised that one of our little guys hasn't jumped up on me, because they love it. They know when I'm doing something in the computer, they love to get up there. Who is that?
Great job, congratulations. Forse non molti lo ricorderanno, ma sua moglie, Sherry Ramsey, è stata anche per qualche tempo, per qualche mese in Sentieri nel ruolo di Lisa Cutler. We remember that your wife was on Guiding Light on a short character, playing Lisa Cutler. And now we have a video for you too.
Oh, great.
Yes, hello. Is this the state penitentiary? It is. This is Lisa Cutler. I'm married to one of the inmates, Jack Cutler. Oh, okay. Well, if you could just take a message, please. Could you please tell him that everything's going according to plan? He'll know what I mean. Okay. Yes, I'm sure he'll be very glad to hear that. Thank you very much. Bye.
That's great. Oh, I love it. Can you send me that too?
Sure. This
great.
happened when you come back. You came back in 1987, maybe, no? You left 2 years before, and you came back in 1987, maybe with Sherry in Guiding Light.
Yeah, right. Yep. It was actually, right. It seemed like I was coming back in December. I was December of 86, I think, that I started back on the show, but mostly 87. And yeah, and she had that role there. And then she did a really nice role on As the World Turns. She had a role on Another World. She did more of them than I did.
Nice to hear that. And
Rosario, per favore, digli che deve farglielo vedere il video alla moglie.
Infatti lo vuole, glielo dobbiamo mandare.
Sì, ok.
She'll appreciate it. We are sure that she's happy to see that. About the last question, no? Riguardo l'ultima domanda, hai già visitato il nostro paese, ma pensi di visitarlo un'altra volta in futuro? Do you plan to visit our country in the future again?
I would love to visit again. Actually, I've always told my wife, I said, there are two places other than the States where I could live happily. One is London and the other is Italy, pretty much anywhere in Italy. I love the people. There's an enjoyment of life in Italy, in food and wine and culture, in just, having a great moment in the day that I love about the Italian people. And I dearly hope to get back again one of these days.
Okay, so we are waiting for you. We remember that Liz Kiefer came to Italy last year in Marcello house. So we are waiting for you. We have big houses and we can host you whenever you want. We can see, we can meet Gabriele Calindri as well here in Milan.
Beautiful.
It is a pleasure. Thank you so much for the time you shared with us and all these memories. Ragazzi, volete aggiungere qualcos'altro?
Sì, abbiamo i saluti di Sante.
There is another greeting for you from Sante Cosentino. He's a journalist here in Italy.
Ciao Grant, Italian audience has got a beautiful and long memory about Phillip Spaulding and about Grant Aleksander. I'm journalist. I remember your attendance in Telegatti edition. Big success for you and Michael O'Leary, and big success for the Four Musketeers and Phillip Spaulding and the Guiding Light. I am very happy to can send a big ciao from a big heart of Guiding Light and big friend of Maria Macina. Ciao.
Ringraziamo Sante. Allora, Grant, tutti ti abbiamo amato con Sentieri anche in altre produzioni, ma in particolare per tutti i fan che hanno amato questa bellissima produzione, cosa vorresti dire?
Would you like to
Che messaggio gli vorresti mandare?
Would you like to say hello to all your Italian fans, all them, all they who beloved you in Guiding Light? Would you like
Absolutely. For anyone that would be watching this, that it was a fan of the show and kept us going all that time, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I think I can speak for the rest of the cast and crew, writers, producers, everyone that worked on the show. The reception that the show got in Italy was always really heartwarming and encouraging to us. And we have great warm feelings towards you all, and thank you very much.
Great.
Non ci resta che salutarci. Noi ti ringraziamo tantissimo di essere stato con noi e ti aspettiamo in Italia per una bella spaghettata insieme, e a te e a tua moglie ovviamente.
Okay, we are waiting for you and your wife, by all means, for a spaghetti dinner here in Italy. Grazie a tutti, grazie ragazzi, grazie a Marcello.
Ricordiamo i social, vi raccomandiamo di seguire sempre tutti i nostri social, Facebook, Instagram di Sentieri Guiding Light, Mia Amor TV, quelli di The Live House, e di iscrivervi anche ai nostri canali YouTube Sentieri Online, The Live House e Mia Amor TV. E come sempre ci vediamo alla prossima puntata, sempre con mucha allegria.
Ciao!
Ciao!
Grazie Grant!
Ciao, grazie!
Vi abbiamo presentato Sentieri Guiding Light Soap Talk, un programma a cura di Sentieri Online e Mia Amor TV. Ha partecipato Grant Aleksander. Hanno presentato Daria Graziosi, Salvatore Esposito e Rosario Paolo Saia. Musiche di Eugenia Marino. Supervisione e regia Marcello Marino. Si ringraziano Max Di Benedetto, Sante Cosentino e Giacomo Schivo. Video disponibile su YouTube nel canale Sentieri Online.